Welcome to the Biomes blog post on connecting to your elementary child. Have you ever struggled with understanding how your elementary child thinks or acts, especially when they act differently than they did when they were 4 or 5 years old? Have you ever wondered, how can I better help my child at home, both academically, socially, or emotionally? If you've had any of these questions or doubts, you are not alone. To this end, the Biomes teachers have put together a presentation where we will be discussing the different characteristics of the elementary child that Maria Montessori discovered. She talked about in her book, The Absorbent Mind, the child's development follows a path of successive stages of independence, and our knowledge of this must guide us in our behavior towards him. We have to help the child to act, will, and think for himself. This is the art of serving the spirit, an art which can be practiced to perfection only when working among children. The characteristics that we find in elementary children are the reasoning mind, their imagination, and their acquisition of culture. Each teacher will be taking part of one of these characteristics to talk about how this characteristic is manifested in the child, and then give some practical advice and some suggestions on how you can use each one of those characteristics to better help and connect to your child.
Hi, my name is Madison Mobley. I've been teaching at Community Montessori since fall of 2020. I'll be speaking something just specific, one lens that we use as Montessori teachers to kind of better understand the elementary age child and therefore know how to really properly support them. And that is that we know that the elementary age child has a reasoning mind. And we can contrast this to better understand what that means to the 0 to 6-year-old child, who is very, we would call an absorbent mind. So they're absorbing everything in their life, everything they're touching, it's very sensorial. So they're soaking all that in, and they accept what you say as truth. I think that speaks to one quote by Maria Montessori I want to read to you. Dr. Montessori wrote in Citizen of the World. She said that we might say that the younger child, so 0 to 6, takes in things sensorially. The child of 7 enters the abstract field, so he wishes to know reasons. It's curious to notice that one of the things which preoccupy these children is what is ethical in life, what's good, what's bad. If you tell the little child that he's bad or good, he just accepts it. Whereas the 7-year-old wants to know why he's bad and what it is to be bad. So using this information, we're very descriptive when we're supporting elementary age children in the studio to help communicate our thoughts and to help them with their thoughts. And the 7-year-old is very interested in language as well. So you can use big words. They're probably intrigued by that. So instead of accepting that, okay, the tooth fairy comes once for every tooth, got it. Once they move into that second stage of life, of development, the 6 to 12-year-old, they're pushing it. They're using their reasoning mind, their capabilities, their mental capabilities are now more abstract. They can think of things that aren't right in front of them and imagine them and break them apart and try to reason through them. And so they might ask a lot more questions about, well, how would the tooth fairy know that it's the same tooth? What if I spaced it out like over a month? Like, would it know? So a lot of these experiences, a lot of these conversations can be tough, I think, for the adult when your elementary age child is pushing back on things that you say. And thankfully, as we know, in this quote, she touched on it as well, Dr. Montessori, that the elementary age child is very passionate about justice. And so we can and we do communicate our thoughts with the elementary age child. If they're pushing back and they're not believing our words, then we communicate that with them and ask them, why they don't believe us. And, oh, I can see why you maybe thought my story seemed outlandish. Well, I did, in fact, go to the amusement park only for 1 hour because I just rode a few rides. I was actually picking up a friend. So that's why I wasn't there long. And that's why I was able to then go to the pool and go grocery shopping. So I guess I can understand why you didn't think that story could even be possible. But yeah, we only spent like an hour at the amusement park. So if they're pushing back, they might just be using their reasoning mind to figure these things out. And they're very accepting of us to communicate with them and use descriptive words in doing it. I have included some resources because this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding the reasoning mind. So I put some resources here for you to continue to read about the reasoning mind of your elementary age child.
Connecting with your child can easily be attained through the wonderful world of imagination. So, what is imagination for the 6 to 9 child? Maria Montessori says, human consciousness comes into the world as a flaming ball of imagination. Everything invented by man, physical or mental, is the fruit of someone's imagination. As human beings, we were given superpowers that we like to call the 3 gifts of human beings in Maria Montessori's 3rd grade story. We were given the brain, the hand, and the heart. The brain is given to find purpose in what we do. We can use our reasoning minds to recognize a problem or a need, and we can imagine a solution to that problem, or to meet a need or fulfill our deepest desires. We are given hands in which we use those as tools to make our imagination come to fruition. And we are given our heart. Our heart gives us the ability to love. We can share that love, that compassion, that empathy to those maybe we've never met before, because we can imagine them. We can imagine their situation and what they might be going through. Maria Montessori also says, the secret of good teaching is to regard the child's intelligence as a fertile field in which seeds may be sown, to grow under the heat of flaming imagination. Our aim, therefore, is not merely to make the child understand, and still less to force him to memorize, but so to touch his imagination as to enthuse him to his inmost core. Some practical takeaways from Maria Montessori's work. Montessori saw that the 6 to 9 child's biggest need was to immerse themselves in the world and to understand it. Imagination is the gateway to understand the world that they see. The child uses their interests and their passions of the world around them to access the knowledge of it. Their imagination does the work for them, and they work with rigor. Our job is just to sow the seeds of imagination and follow your child's interests. So, some other ways to connect through imagination at home is storytelling. I cannot stress enough how wonderful storytelling is for your child. Tell true stories. Tell your own experiences or that of others. Tell of your travels, your memories. There are no limits to the building of imagination through storytelling. It is a Montessori guide's number 1 job, is to do storytelling. And our storytelling leads to imagination and wonder, and that wonder leads to work. Audiobooks or read-alouds of all kinds. Listening to people read is a superpower for children of your age level, because they will be able to visualize what's going on around them and what's going on in the story. Using I wonder questions. I wonder why that rock was placed there. I wonder what this person might have been thinking about. I wonder who the author was. I wonder what they might have been doing 100 years ago. Any kind of I wonder questions. Also, predictions in stories and in everyday life. What might happen if I add 4 drops of this substance instead of 2? What do you think? What do you think might happen next? What would happen if I completely changed the measurements in a baking experiment?
Do you think it would work out? Why or why not? Give your learner tons of exposure to culture all around the universe. It is at our fingertips, and not just on the screens, but go out into the world and explore. This could be a park, a creek bed, the store, a museum, the forest. Literally anywhere is a place of learning and exploring. And it provides a space for cultural acquisition across the globe. Let their interests guide you and experience the wonder with them. They love to learn, but they love even more to be able to share it with those they care about. The sky's the limit, you all. Go out, imagine, and have fun.
So, all of this imagination and power of reasoning that these elementary children have means that they are extremely interested in culture. And connecting with children through culture is so easy and so fun because we have limitless options, and every child has their own particular interests at any given time in exploring their own culture, other cultures, and cultures throughout time. So, first, what do we mean when we say culture? We mean how human beings live together to meet their fundamental needs. So, this is our fundamental human needs chart. The children use this to explore the physical needs and the spiritual needs of humans and all the different things that that can look like. And so when we're doing games and activities with children in our homes, we can think about this chart and think about the parts that are on it and how they relate to the different areas of study. So, for example, geography or biology or history or mathematics or geometry or the study of language, our language, other languages. And we can help our children to realize what their own interests are through using this framework. So, for example, if you're doing some cooking at home or some home improvement projects, you can think about in the chart that relates to our nourishment or our housing. And the children, by doing this in a hands-on way, will start to spontaneously ask questions about, why do we eat this food? Where does this food come from? Why is this recipe in our family? Who gave it to us? When did you first eat this food? Or why do we live in a house that's this shape, that's made out of these materials? And then that can lead to questions about people who've lived in other times or who live in other places in the world. And so some great other activities for doing at home are just things that are doing together are just things that everyone does together at home anyway, like listening to music, looking at art, reading novels or history stories out loud, and doing some sewing kind of activities. But for the elementary child, it's really important that we're having conversations with them around making those connections to the needs that are true for all human beings, and then how different cultures go about using these aspects of our culture, like math or art or geography, to create that unique culture for that particular group.
Thank you for joining us during this time to learn more about your child and their different characteristics as an elementary child, mainly their reasoning mind, their imagination, and their acquisition of culture. Hopefully, along the way, you've been able to gain some insights into these characteristics and found some different tips and tricks on how to better support your child within the context of these characteristics. As Maria Montessori in The Absorbent Mind aptly stated, we then become witnesses to the development of the human soul, the emergence of the new man, who will no longer be the victim of events, but thanks to his clarity of vision, will become able to direct and mold the future of humankind. Please feel free to reach out to us via email for any other questions that you might have about characteristics or any other ideas that you might have to better support your child at home. Also, if you have any other insights, some ideas that work for you and your child, please share them with us. We want to know them, and we will pass them on to other people in our community. Thank you.